Hey, I'm so excited.
Hey, thank you for being here. Yeah.
Oh man, thank you all for inviting me. Thank you for curating and creating this amazing, beautiful, life-changing space with a single thread weaves the future. Why are you looking like that?
You said
Life-changing. Yes, we're going to talk a bit about more about that, but life-changing in the way that people were able to participate with public art, life-changing in the way that you brought so many different artists and creatives together in this space, life-changing in that now you can't run from your title as artist.
Hello, that's a big one.
That is a big one.
You know?
That's major.
So I guess we should start at the beginning, and you all tell me a little bit about who you are outside of a single thread weaves a future. Do you want to talk about that before we begin talking about this project and this space?
Yeah.
I want to know who you are as artists outside of this curated space. Who's going first?
I'll go first.
This is Stacey Allen.
Thank you. So I have always seen myself as like not only but solely a dance artist. I've been very focused on dance. You know, dance is one of those creative spaces that require a lot of discipline, right? Because it's like your body is the instrument.
Yes.
And so I guess I've been just very channeled. Like it just takes so much. It encompasses your whole life. So I started. I decided I was going to dance in about 11th grade-ish. So then I decided I was going to major in dance, which is, to me, a tad, I guess, radical as a Black person. You know, when you are a Black person, you're expected to go to college and then to try to make the best out of capitalism.
Right.
Yeah. But I'm like, no, I'm majoring in dance.
You know, that's a struggle in our community to live as artists, to pursue art.
Right.
As not only a practice, but you know, an education. You know, our parents are like, "You sure you don't want to be an engineer?"
Doctor, lawyer, engineer. Well, my parents were actually supportive.
Okay, well, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
And rare.
Yeah, it is, and I'm thankful for that privilege. But so I decided I was going to dance, and I just kind of been focused in on that. And after having children, I didn't feel the desire necessarily to perform as much. And so I was just trying to figure out where I was creatively. Like I still wanted to be involved.
Right.
And so I kind of got into choreographing more. So telling stories. And I'm like, no, I'm about to tell Black women and girls stories.
Right.
Specifically, exclusively Black women, because those are stories that's my stories.
Yeah.
And
their love stories.
Right, exactly.
And I'm glad that you brought up this idea of dance being a method or a space for storytelling. A lot of people don't think about dance in that way, but truly, like through that movement, we can connect and reconnect with so many different aspects of our culture, future, present, past, as presented in the title of this exhibition, right? A single thread weaves a future. So this idea of like connecting the past, the present to the future, and doing that through the storytelling of movement. You know, it's so much a part of our story as Black people. It is really a huge part of how we have survived, right? Through movement, through rhythm,
through body language,
right? Telling a story without speaking that story. So, yeah, that's fantastic. And so you were thinking, okay, well, I'm a mommy. How many babies?
I have 3 small children, 5, 3, and 10 months.
5, 3,
and I'm
and
still
10 months.
breastfeeding at 10 months. I have to say that.
So she's like, listen, and I can understand that. Like, you know, as a woman, your body is changing. You have all of these demands as a wife and a mother, and so many times we tend to lose sight of our passions and lose connection to our passions. And so I'm so happy to hear that you were able to like find a new space and a new avenue and a new experience in dance so that you can hold on to some of you, because we know that that's a challenge for women, period, and Black women especially, when we fall into those roles of wife and mother and caretaker in general.
Yeah.
You know, so choreography.
So yeah, I got into choreography, and I just kind of, I, I, I believe like birth is also birth is creation, right?
Yes.
And so I believe that sometimes when you're birthing children, you sometimes feel more creative because you have more ideas.
Yeah.
And so during the pandemic, I was pregnant again, so I had the opportunity to just think, and and just kind of imagine and think about things I wanted to see. Really get into where you wish you could go and see,
right.
And then kind of think about that. And also, again, like physically, because I was pregnant, I couldn't even really dance as much as I wanted to. So I kind of dabbled into other art, but I would always use the word crafts because I never wanted to take on the word artist, because it was like,
and I look at you.
I'm like, oh no, I'm not. I'm a dance artist. I'm
not
an artist.
I just be playing around. We always downplay our gifts and our talents because the world tells us that we're not supposed to shine and that we're not supposed to be authentic and honest about who we are and the gifts that the Creator has given us.
Right.
Which I think is a fault that we have, because we should celebrate those gifts because they are exactly that, gifts. And so we give glory when we celebrate our gifts. No, go ahead.
Do you follow Ebony Janice? She calls herself a hip hop womanist.
I feel like I do.
Yeah, you probably do. Well, she did a post yesterday, and she was like, Kendrick Lamar had it wrong. That song "Be Humble," and she was like, stop telling Black people and Black girls to be humble.
Right.
I'm not being humble anymore. Her caption was so good.
Yeah.
She said since she came out and said, she's not here to save everybody because she teaches anti-racism and all that.
Right.
That she's focusing on her own joy, that she lost like over 7,000 followers, and she was like, that's okay.
That's fine. Because guess what? I'm still gonna shine.
Yes.
And those committed to seeing it, or who are open to seeing it, will see that shine. So,
and that reminds me of something I heard from several women who came through the space. They shared with me that they had a hard time saying Black woman. It's something about the word Black. People want to say, I guess, people of color, and that's fine. A girl can't say
that is, and now it's.
I didn't.
No, but more than one person
like by POC, right? Black, Indigenous people of color, and it's like you could just say Black.
Yeah,
like we can celebrate Blackness. It's okay. We can celebrate Black womanhood,
exactly,
and that doesn't mean that we're anti anything else.
Right.
The challenge,
right?
The challenge of that. So you were like, I'm over here crafting. I'm imagining, which is really the foundation of all of this, right? Like being rooted and rerouting ourselves in our imagination, which again can be something that is hard when you're out trying to work and provide and care for
and survive the pandemic.
Yes,
just survive.
That is a challenge to tap into your imagination. And so that was a part of the process, imagining.
And I just reached out to Saida, and she said, okay, that sounds good.
Be honest, how you reached out?
DMs.
That was the initial one, but honestly, I was so impressed that Stacey sent me an email. It was really professional.
Oh, I did send you an email.
You found my era, and from there I was like, okay, this is serious, because the DM is a little different.
Yeah.
And when you did that and you kind of broke down what you wanted or what you saw.
So tell me how you decided to reach out to Syeda.
Because the first time I met her, I was about to go to the Black Art Center, and I had nothing to wear at the last minute because that's my life, right? So she came to my mom's house and she brought all these clothes, and I was just like speechless.
That's that passion and love, honey. It comes through.
Speechless. Like I almost wore that outfit again today. But I have worn it like 3 times. But that's not a lot. Anyway, so because I would wear clothes.
So you knew her from, and we'll talk a little bit more about Saida's story.
I'm just getting to you.
No, that's
we're moving forward into
it.
But like, you know, someone who repurposes fashion is just like such a small way of talking about who you are and what you do, right? Saida is an artist in so many different ways, and this is just the current iteration.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, oh, I'm choosing fashion now. We'll get into it. I'm choosing fashion now. You know, that's going to be my weapon, because I really feel like, you know, and we'll talk about it, your background in poetry and like all of these other different creative avenues you have. And like, I just look at fashion as your new weapon. And she's so passionate about it. So you said you just showed up.
She first came to my mom's house. She just had all these beautiful clothes. I was really like speechless. Then I reached out again. I was like, oh, can I buy some more stuff? And she came to my house that time, and my friends were over. It just felt good.
Yeah.
But then you like kicked it up a notch during the pandemic. You was like doing every Friday? Something. It was something you was doing. I was like, dang, I can't even.
You're like, oh, now I'm a designer.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. Like,
right. And I was
but
like,
it was funny because you would comment on, or you would send me a DM about certain things that I was intentionally doing. Nobody else really got it, and you said something about it. I was like, okay.
Oh, y'all tell me more about that. You never told me that.
Well, it was we were in New Orleans. My husband and I were in New Orleans, and we had a photo shoot with one of the girls. And one of the girls was asleep. We were done with the shoot. She fell asleep, but it was this big painting on Rockwell. And the little girl walking the school, really busy or something. But for me, it was like she was dreaming about, I don't know, a future or something. I thought that was art, even though it wasn't a part of the shoot. And you said something like, I really like how you did that.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, I like when people, you know what I mean?
Because it was like Josie said, it was more than clothes. Yeah. It felt like it was a story behind every piece. And so as a storyteller, it was like, these not just clothes. Right. I want to wear these clothes. I want to buy all these clothes. Dang, I can't fit these clothes because I'm pregnant. I remember thinking that a lot of times. But it was the way you shot the girl. It was the full package. And so I'm like,
I want to tell stories with her.
I want to do something. I was like, let me send her some choreography. She ain't got time for this.
I looked at it too. I watched it.
You watched that whole? You watched that whole?
I skipped around.
Okay.
But the fact that it was there, it existed, you had already done it, and my work, I love Black women, you know.
So did you reach out about this opportunity with Fresh Arts?
No, first I was
you were just like, listen, we can do this in my garage, honey, but we need to make something shake.
That's what it was. I was like, we need to do something. I don't know what that something is.
Yeah.
Then I saw the Fresh Arts post, and I was like, okay. Looks like his brand. And like a month, we had a decent amount of time.
Yeah, we gave us.
Yeah, and we did a lot of edits, and you know, Saida's a writer as well.
So is she. You naturally are.
Okay, I guess. See, look at us being trying to
see. Yes,
it's so natural. It's like you've been conditioned to.
Right.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, that was the genesis, and then we just started talking, and you know, also during the pandemic, Black people continue to be killed by the police.
Right.
Racism still persisted. White supremacy still persisted. So it's like in this moment, we're at home. We kind of get a space to relax, but we also having to deal with this consistent trauma of Black bodies. But we're also trying to create something beautiful.
Yeah.
My grandmother was also sick. It was just a lot going on, and it was just like
you needed a release and a way to bring yourself out of all of that, all of what we all have been experiencing during this pandemic.
So, and we honestly said that if we didn't win the grant from Fresh Arts, we're gonna do it anyway. And we put that out there, and I believe that. I was like, yes, we are. But when we submitted how did you feel? Did you think we were gonna get it?
I never got a grant before. I've written, like, I've applied to, y'all know, rejection as an artist. I've applied to a lot of different things. I never was awarded one. Yeah. So when I was like going back and forth and doing it, and we was talking and stuff, I just was like, okay, I'm glad that Saida is cool with it. Like, I don't know how she feel about like doing this on your own, because I was thinking, oh, she's a business owner. She has to like monetize. Right. And art costs money. Right. I didn't know how you was gonna feel about that, but I really wanted to do it because once we wrote that whole long narrative, because that application was a lot. Yeah. Yes. It took a lot of time and energy and effort. I was
and you created something so beautiful on the page. Right. The Fresh Art said, take our money. Please. Cut the check. Right.
And it was I remember getting the email and calling you, like, it was during the workday. But I remember calling you because it was like surreal. Like,
yeah. A part of me felt like,
had you gotten a grant
who
before?
Else would they choose? You know, small little, because I worked as an educator, but those little small. But nothing that, I don't know, not in the art world. Okay. Yeah, so that was different.
Saida, you ready?
I guess so.
To tell us that, yes.
My story is a modge podge of
all things art and beautiful.
Yeah, just things that I think about doing and do. So
that's powerful. First of all, let's pause and acknowledge the power and the ability to do that. To envision something, to imagine something, and to bring it into fruition. We too many times also kind of downplay that.
Yeah.
Right? But it's hard to do. It's one thing to think it. Mm-hmm. It's one thing to even plan it.
Right.
The execution, is rough. I'm saying that thinking about all of the projects that I have in my head and my paper, Mm-hmm. So I just wanted to, I'm so happy that you said that. I'm a person who does. Mm-hmm. Because that's an affirmation. Okay? We all need to be saying that to ourselves. Yeah. I'm a person who does.
Yeah, I really think that I'm a dreamer. I spend a lot of time. I'm very internal. And so growing up, very strong family, Christian, Baptist, just completely overpowering. And so I find solace in writing, music, discovering books. We live with my grandfather, who was a Baptist minister. And I just explored so much, and that's when I started thinking like, hey, maybe I'm a little different. Sitting in the back of church, like this, it doesn't really sit well with me, or maybe I just have too many questions. Like, don't ask that. You know you ain't supposed to be. Listen, and I was just always asking the questions, and so I don't know. That curiosity just kind of, opened up doors for me. So I did a couple of art classes at Gazelle. My mom was always, anything I said I want to do, she kind of did support at the time.
I love that thread. Yes. We're going to be talking about so many threads here, but like that thread of supportive parents.
Yeah, right.
It's so important.
Yeah, it really is. To a certain extent.
I mean, listen.
Like, slow down. But yeah, it was the poetry in school. And I remember writing poems, and I was sketching and winning these little school awards, and my English teacher telling me, hey, I think you're an amazing writer and you're going to be a poet, and so on and so forth. So I tapped into that, sketching. I really was all over the place. And I think I was a swimmer. Like, I really swam. And just like all these different things I wanted to do. And a lot of times, like I was sharing with Stacey, being in these spaces, and I was the only Black a lot of times. And so I guess all of this coming into who I am and my own Blackness, like in a different way than she came. into her blackness. So just kind of, am I black enough? I'm not black enough. Okay, let me use this. I don't know. Let me use this art to kind of speak because I'm internal. Let me use this. I don't know. Just kind of exploring different mediums always. Yeah. And I remember, what was it, in 2006? My girl Cassandra, we did a poetry album, and we were in the studio, and we were singing, and we were rapping.
When are we going to get to hear this album?
Never.
Cassandra is here in the background, and she is saying it will not happen. You will not hear it. Absolutely not.
Yes.
Because I keep hearing you talk about this album, and I'm like, can we get a little
I think we're going to re-record it, because to listen to it now, honestly, it reminds me of where some of our millennials are. Like, you know, you could tell like what I was reading, what we were reading at the time. We were, you know, deep Afro spirituality.
Yes.
Erykah Badu.
Yes, Sacred Woman, Sacred Woman.
All of it. You can hear it in the lyrics. So, yeah, that was that. But, yeah, exploring that. Then I wrote a play at Midtown Arts Center, involved all of my girls. It was a play.
Okay, you've been in this work.
I kind of been dipping and dabbing. I told you whatever I dream of. I got no background in it, but I'm going to try to do it. I feel like I've experienced enough. I've read enough. And I have all these internal ideas. I mean, let's see if they work.
Yeah.
But yeah,
and
fashion. I always kind of been a style, little styler.
Yeah.
But my mom did not encourage the art part of me. Like in college, I was into sculpture. I was into welding. I was into every
it's like
thing.
You know, it's always fine as a hobby, right?
Yes.
Like, oh, you want to be an artist. That's so great as a hobby. But how are you going to support yourself? And that's something that is real when we think about our history in this country, when we think about the idea of our families having to create what small amounts of generational wealth they can, and just wanting, you know, the seeds overall, not to struggle and suffer.
Right.
Because each generation we are moving forward, but we can't forget, because we are still so close to, you know, where we have been, unfortunately, because of racism and white supremacy and all of these things that we experience being citizens, you know, of this country and people who built this country, right? So, like, that is definitely something that we have to move through. It's like, oh, okay, you want to be an artist, like a living artist, like as a living,
right?
Like, art don't pay the rent, you know,
right?
And so this has been a big leap for you.
A huge leap. How did
it start? Tell us the love story. Like, tell us how you decided to start, because you started with just thrifting and fashion idea and like wanting to style.
Yes.
And now you're repurposing and creating and
using textile fabric.
Yes.
Yeah. I've always been interested in clothes too, but thrifting was my jam. Like, I just loved it. I love finding things that nobody else had. I like the idea of, you know, being different, being unique. So I was thrifting so much. I mean, it was just, I began hoarding, honestly.
Yes, I can imagine.
Yeah, it was just too much for me to even wear. And then I started thinking, like, people like it on me. I want to get things that they would like on them.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it just kind of started that. And then I taught myself to sew during the pandemic, pretty much. And me and Stacey during this whole process was just like, we are just too much. Every time we think about something, we dream about something, we go above and beyond. It's just like out of this world. So being that I was a new seamstress, designer, instead of me creating satchels or drawstring bags, I'm going for
full dance costumes.
Alexander McQueen. Like, I've seen that. I can do that. Like, I want to create that. I want to create high fashion out of sustainable, thrifted, clothes. So I did it. I always wanted to go to New York Fashion Week. Okay, I got some local fashion shows here. And I don't know. I guess I do need to pat myself on the back.
You do, absolutely.
You don't know.
Yeah, like
I am telling you, yes.
I know. Stacey has
pat
been
yourself
very
on the back, front, side to side.
So we didn't know each other. We weren't like previously friends, and then did this project together. So it's like during this we started working on this by like January. I just be learning. She'd be like just saying little stuff like, "Oh, well, when I had a play at Midtown Arts," and I'm like, "Girl, you had a whole play?" Oh, well, I used to do a little bit of this,
just casual.
Yeah,
I created and funded an entire performance,
and
put it on in a major media space, but
when I guess
it's nothing.
And then the week we installed, she created these pieces. Like, I know y'all can't see it. Well, I hope you came to the exhibit, but it's in the and she still. It's like you still.
I'm telling you, I came in and I was like, wow. Like, and I told you that. I was like,
you poured into me.
Like every time I came into this space, I was in Saida's ear. Like, you have created something that is so phenomenal, so monumental. And when I say life-changing, like, I mean that. Creating a space that celebrates Black womanhood in this way, that invites so many different experiences of Black womanhood, of Blackness, of humanness, into this space. Like, that is, and also making it yours, for the both of you, through the performances that you choreographed and created, Stacey, through not only the pieces that you brought in to share with, patrons and people who came through, but like these pieces, the stories behind it.
And the
each
program.
Piece so clearly tells a story. Like, the connection and the bringing in of like hair and braiding and fashion and paint. And when I first came in, she said, "Oh, every piece is connected to a book." I'm like, Saida, all of these layers, so beautiful. Like, y'all did this.
Yes, we did. One thing that pushed me too, and I gotta give Stacey credit, like, we were talking about this process. We were dreaming, imagining, and I feel like I'm a person who always has to have the research. Like, I need to know what it means to be a curator. I need to know what each of these pieces. I need some literature. I need some research to go, because the art world is big. The art world is monstrous. It's scary. It's and I don't want these artists come. Yeah. So I was like all in my thing. My notebooks, just stuff everywhere. And Stacey said, "You know what? We don't have to do all of that. Let's focus on what it feels like." And for me, that's often, a struggle. Like,
being in the present.
Right. What something feel like.
Being in your body.
Right.
Yeah.
So spending those nights here, I was feeling music, and you were here feeling with me. But that was important. So that was a driving force. We wanted to make sure that when Black women walked in here, they felt at home. They felt safe. They felt love.
Yeah. And I think also a part of the art too is really the programming, y'all. Okay. Because
I was about to say, when we talk about threads, in the title of the exhibition, "A Single Thread Weaves a Future," we were talking about threads. That is also like something that you created that I've never seen before. Not only curating this space as a place for hanging art, right? Of sculpture, of photography, of an ancestral altar. It's like so beautiful and expansive here. Thinking about all of these placements, but then also creating space for living arts to really move through the space and create power in the space. I've never seen anything like that before, and that's why I was, you think I was, pouring into you, which I suppose I was, but I was really being honest in that, acknowledging with so much respect that you have created this kind of space where, there is the physical representation of art that people can come in and enjoy. But like you said, the programming, the idea that we want to bring as many Black women creatives into this space as possible. We want to give them this space that is a free space for them to express whatever aspect of beautiful, bountiful Black womanhood that we can, that they can imagine. Whatever you think of, come to this space and like activate it with that energy. And I'm telling you, every single weekend. Yes.
I am, because
every single weekend, you all made space and curated something that is magical. I don't know what other kind of word to use. Like you could feel, talk about chills, you could feel like my body will respond to coming into the space.
Right.
That is how high the energy was. That is how beautiful the space was. That is how impactful it was for you to create this space for Black women artists. Right? Yeah.
I like to think of it like each weekend, Stacey can talk more about it, but represented a body. So like our garment. Let's say that if a single thread is weaving its future and each weekend represents a beautiful piece of art, it just felt different every weekend. So all these beautiful embodiments of, spirits and art. The ground even felt different. The hugs felt different.
I'm telling you.
The diversity of the crowds were different.
That
like,
opening?
Are y'all in Houston? Y'all live in Houston?
I'm telling you.
I've never seen you.
I am telling you.
It just brought out each of the different types of Black people.
I just remember being here, at the opening, and it was also an open studio time here at Winter Street Studios. So there were all kinds of people all throughout the building, and just watching people be in awe, and look in amazement at who are these, all of these beautiful people, like coming together and laughing and like experiencing and giving and receiving joy. And it's like you said earlier, not only are we, trying to survive this pandemic, but also dealing with so many other, aspects of, the challenges that exist in being, a Black person in this country, the challenges that exist in being a woman in this country, and like having that constantly be thrown on top of us, in addition to,
this super disease.
Not knowing,
what's about to happen.
Literally having PTSD and being and being afraid for our lives. And then you look in this space, and there are all of these beautiful people, and everybody is moving and shaking and smiling and dancing, and you're seeing these beautiful dance performances and these beautiful costumes, and like it was really awe-inspiring, and you could see people literally standing with a jaw drop, like, what is this? How is this possible? You know what I mean? How can people be experiencing this kind of joy and connection and love in the midst of so much sorrow and strife?
I'm happy to happy, just full that we were able to just help Black women be seen in a world where a lot of us have to like cover certain parts of ourselves. We were seen like. We had the motherhood event, Black maternal health. We talked about that, but it wasn't even like tragic.
Right.
It was like imagining.
That was the thing, I think.
Yeah, seeing and being seen at the same time, because sometimes we struggle with both.
And then we had y'all's event. Oh my gosh, the affirmations, just hearing Jotina and you and Cassandra, and so everybody just speak. It's just every weekend you feel full.
It was so good. And hugging people, like I keep saying hug. Did I say that already?
Because we have not had those kinds of connections. Listen, we were risking it all in this pandemic. Okay, let's be honest about that. We were like, I need human connection.
Yes.
Like we are human beings, and we need that. And this was, as safe a space as possible to indulge in that.
And I think it was why it felt so safe is because we did not necessarily center trauma, but we also didn't try to sugarcoat.
Right.
Like it's clear that it was
an honest, vulnerable, healing space.
Yes.
It's one of the things that I kept saying over and over. Talk about the programming.
Ooh, girl. So every weekend we had something.
Every weekend.
Every single weekend.
Yes.
Sometimes this last month of August,
Friday,
Saturday, Sunday, right? So I just want to reach out to I'm having to see myself more as a curator, as somebody that wants to build community. That is something that's dear to my heart. So I reached out to people who I always I admire y'all's work. I admire so many of the women we brought in's work. And I'm like, how do you mix this with dance? Well, now we have this opportunity to bring in all of these people. And it just was beautiful. Other artists came in. We had people vending some weeks. I mean, we had programming every week. Where do I start, girl, on the programming?
So much great programming.
Yes. Some weekends we would both be like, man, we were in there like this was an event that I would just want to go to.
It was some out of body experiences. I remember sitting right here while this was the weekend Free Black Women's Library. Ashley Hoskins put together an amazing event, and we were doing yoga, and we did like breath work, and we did journaling, and it was just like. I remember the teacher as she was guiding us saying, imagine yourself where you want to be. And I kept imagining myself here. Yeah. But it was like, wait, am I not meditating right? Because it's almost like I'm kind of trying to.
Look at what I have spoken into existence. Okay.
No, but that wasn't it. It was more like I'm trying to meditate, but I'm also trying to make sure everything's going right. Because I'm still hosting a little bit. Yeah. But then it was like, no, I keep coming back to here because this is what we need. I'm not meditating. I'm supposed to be here. This is the word. This is it.
Toni Morrison always says that she read and read and read and read. And then she realized that the book that she wanted to read hadn't been written. And so she had to write that book. Right? That's what you all did.
Yeah.
Right? Like you have been envisioning and imagining, and you were like, this kind of space does not exist. So now I have to create it.
I feel like we summoned each other because I didn't really know what all Stacey's background was or what she could do, vice versa. Mm-hmm. But it's like we tapped each other. Bam! I'm glad you asked. It's like, let's go.
Yeah.
And it was
sitting here.
And it was just so outlandish. I remember
you about to do what, girl? We're about to do what?
Exactly.
We're about to ask for a check to do what?
Yes.
I remember just walking to my car. I remember exactly where I was, and I was just like, I think we should try to have something every weekend so more and more people can come. Right. And I didn't really think what that really meant.
You're like, now I'm looking back at that. Somebody should have been like, girl, you are out of your mind.
And all we did was hype each other up. We never thought maybe we should.
I was like, you think I'm doing too much? Girl, no. Do it. The same thing. One day we told Reyes, remember we were like, I want to hang things from the ceiling. I want dresses coming from the ceiling and this thing. Traumatic. You was like, yeah, girl, do it. I was like, I want to see that.
You were like, I want a 100-foot ponytail.
Yes.
And I want to hang from the ceiling.
See?
And Stacey was like,
yes.
You need me to help you braid it.
That's what I needed. That's
you need me to pick up the hair.
both.
You need me to pick up the hair.
It was beautiful. It really was beautiful being in relation with her. I don't know, like I've had some traumatic relationships with
like
Black,
just
previously on our projects with Black women, and so I was a little nervous, just that I didn't want to be in the wrong. Like I didn't want to do something that, would.
It's a scary thing because these things require risk taking, right?
Yes.
And vulnerability.
Yes. Vulnerability. You have to share pieces of yourself as art, and then it's like that's kind of like the collaboration thing. Like, how do you know if this is the right thing, and then how you go 10 toes deep, like you just dive into it. But it's like if you don't dive into it, you don't get you don't get the product.
That's it. You cannot create without vulnerability.
Mm-hmm.
I remember Dr. Brene Brown talking about this. She was having a conversation around Steve Jobs at the time, and how in order for you to imagine, in order for you to create, you have to be open. You have to be vulnerable. So that in itself is a challenge, right? Especially when we live in a world that is all of the isms. You know what I mean?
Right.
All of people telling, us how much, we are hated, how we are so much the opposite of who we should be able to envision ourselves as. And it is, being vulnerable in those kinds of spaces is a scary thing. So often we build up this armor, right? And we build up these walls. And so to create something like this, you have to tear all of those walls down, which is...
You have to heal. It's like you have to heal in real time.
Yeah.
Because unfortunately, Black women have been socialized not to necessarily just blind trust.
Yes.
I'm not saying we can't blind trust one another, but we've been socialized to think, oh, I don't know her like that.
Right, yeah. What's the angle?
And just like a hierarchy, I don't know. Just kind of want to pit things together. Well, I've done this.
Right.
And I don't know, just our backgrounds are different.
But look at what you made.
Yes. And I enjoyed it. And we haven't fought. I mean, it's been a beautiful ride, honestly.
So it's a testament to put for more and more people, specifically in this space, we're talking about Black women, to work towards healing.
Yeah.
So that we can uplift. I know that kind of probably sounds cheesy.
It does not sound cheesy.
So that we can uplift each other and build together. Because if me and Saida can
heal those wounds.
Yes.
And we have them.
Yeah.
And I think that it's another thing that was so powerful about this space is being able to have those kinds of conversations too. Right. About, all of the ways that we are hurting and broken. But also how, the wound is where the light enters us, right? That's where we're missing. So I think that this is such a beautiful example of having these difficult conversations where we're talking about the experiences of Black women, particularly in this country, when we're talking about, maternal mortality rates, when we're talking about healing childhood trauma, when we're talking about healing the body through sacred twerk. You know what I mean? We're having all of these conversations so that we can heal, so that we can move towards this future. And I guess that's how we need to wrap up. Talking about how this space has given us a vision of what is possible, of possibilities, of imagination. And that is how we root into where we are going. What the future holds for us. So we've talked about all of these single threads. Talk about how they do come together to weave this future for Black women.
personally or just
however you want to talk about it, like the future. Because that was such an amazing thing. Like you could see it in the artwork,
right. Yeah.
right? And really all three, right? So like this idea of Sankofa, this idea of, the past. We have an ancestral altar here,
Yes.
right? When we look at some of the art pieces, particularly, what you're doing and what you have created, it's also futuristic, right? A lot of the photography, a lot of the programming, but also being rooted in the here and now, which is what we were able to experience through all of these live events.
Right.
So, acknowledging and respecting the past, creating space so that we can be present in the now, and connect and dig into the now. And then also the healing process that happens so that we can have space to imagine what is next. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So for me, recently, artistically, I've really been thinking about honoring my immediate ancestors, the ones that I knew, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mothers, grandmothers, aunties, women in my life. And so I was able to spend some time, and I met this lady named Ms. Gibson who did the quilting workshop. She's photographed here as well. And just like some of the wisdom that her and other women in our lives have been able to pour into us. And so as I think about the future, I really wanted to think about, like, what have we received that keeps us grounded, that we need to take with us?
Mm-hmm.
And then where do we take that knowledge and that wisdom that we have inherited, that is our birthright,
Right.
that has been given to us, and how do we use that as a seed to create more liberation for our people? Because our ancestors have given us so much.
Yes.
The ones we don't know, the ones we never met face to face, but also the ones that are still with us now.
Yeah.
And we have to carry that information and pass it on.
Yeah.
Kind of like we were talking about prior to starting the film, like you said, when you look back on some of the work you've done in the past and you kind of see where some of the younger children are, you can kind of see the similarity. And it's like, let's move, let's keep the synergy, let's move it forward. And just in a tangible sense, I believe that women came here and were transformed. I really believe that.
Oh, absolutely.
And it may have sparked something in themselves if they need to heal something interpersonally, if they want to take a different career path. I know some women have thought of new ideas, new ways to express themselves creatively. And all those sparks of creativity all push forward liberation.
Yes,
for our
absolutely.
people.
Absolutely.
And so that's what I see as being free.
Stacey and I talked about if we wanted to do this again next year.
Mm-hmm.
And we kind of said no, we wanted to do it the following year. So
Right.
this year, for me and us personally, I wanted to explore more art, spend some time in galleries, reading, researching. I have a daughter, she's 11. I want to spend time with her.
Yeah.
And I just got married, and I have not had a chance to really.
I'm talking about you, like,
be in the marriage.
Immediately was like, okay, I do. Now let me get back over here to this grind.
So I kind of do want to bring it home and, heal some things within myself.
Yeah.
But I also want to kind of keep up with the relationship or the people that I met here. Like, I met a lot of dope women, and I'm always like praying in the back of my head. That's how I believe Stacey found me, because I was like, I want a partner. Yes, I want a partnership. I do. But I said something the other day, and the girl basically held me to it, the young lady. I said that I wanted to do these brainstorming, just meetups.
Yeah.
Maybe every three months, and just kind of sit with Black women.
I love that.
Yeah.
Like an incubator space.
Yes. And nothing is wrong, just dream together. and then come up, we don't have to do anything just yet, but I want to do that. So I think that's something I'm going to try to actually make happen this year.
Yes.
I also will be doing Fashion Week here in Houston. So I'm
excited.
I am excited too. And I'm always kind of on the line with fashion because I always feel like it should be a little something more to it. Like, literally, I just want something. I don't want to feel like I'm just in the fashion world.
Right.
I don't know.
Because fashion is an artistic expression. And I think that sometimes we see that. But I think that sometimes we get so caught up in the material capitalist aspect of fashion that we forget that, fashion is about the same thing that we're talking about. We're talking about threads. We're talking about vision. We're talking about imagination. We're talking about telling stories.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So that's all. I think mine is more personal, but I do want to apply for a few more grants. I told Stacey I'm interested in doing something with my husband, who is also an artist. I feel like that would be a beautiful love story. He's a longtime artist, so I just want to see what we can create together.
Oh, I love that.
Orgasmic creation.
I know that's right. Orgasmic. Create something orgasmic. I like that word.
Right.
And the use of that word outside of the way that we normally think about it.
Yeah.
I want to just continue to also like just be witness to the space. Like sometimes you get so like it was a lot of great art in Houston this summer. I missed because I was here, and so you need time to think and dream and incubate. And I do have another project coming up, but I didn't want to do a single thread really next year because I wanted time to think. Me and Saida joke, we put all the ideas we ever had for Black women
into one project.
Into this project.
Like, so now we have a lifetime of dreaming to do before we can move into this next project.
And since we know we've done this, we feel like we have to come bigger. And, all the women we've met, it's just going to be more and more programs.
More programs.
Hear that, Fresh Arts? More programs. Fresh Arts community.
Yeah, like we see some other things. Like I already see it. I saw some things that I didn't get to put in here. And I'm sure programs.
Yeah, I wish it was dance every weekend.
Right.
I wish we had dance every
fashion show.
Well, the wonderful thing is, there's time.
There's time.
Yeah.
There's time. Thank you, too.
Thank you.
Thank you for your vision and your imagination and your curational expertise. Thank you for being artists that have a heart for building community. Thank you for being so invested in creating space for people who are often erased and unheard and unseen, to be seen, heard, felt. Thank you for creating this beautiful space. Thank you for going through that, strenuous process so that you can find funding for this. Thank you for taking the leap over and over and over and opening yourself up and pouring out over and over and over, because you did it. You created something that the world has never seen.
Thank you, Josie. Thank you. Yours was the only event I cried at.
No!
Were you there?
I was there for the beginning.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm glad you left.
Girl, see me crying.
I cried the ugliest cry. Yeah.
And thank you for taking this time, because we've been like so on go mode the whole time. We just needed this moment to just, and like as you were just pouring into us, I'm just looking around like this. I'm speechless. Like I can't believe, I'm sad it's over a little bit, but I feel full
sad
as well.
Yeah, definitely. It's the balance. So bittersweet.
But bigger, better, brighter, more beautiful things on the way.
Right.
Already in motion.
Already. Thank you.
Already
for
in
that.
motion.
That's so true.
Yes, you are welcome. Thank
Thank
you for inviting
you.
me to
Thank
be a
you.
part of this conversation.
Thank you
You're
for
welcome.
collaborating.
Yeah. And thank you to Fresh Arts.
Thank you, Fresh Art.
Thank y'all.
Thanks, Reyes.
And thank you if you
Thank you,
came
Angela.
out. Thank you.
Yes,
Thank
thank
you,
you to
Marcy.
everyone who came out.
Darrell.
Thank you to all of the artists who, added a little razzle dazzle to this.
Every weekend.
A lot of razzle dazzle.
Yes,
Okay,
thank
not a little.
you. Yes, y'all did. Okay, we'll talk about that later.
We could be
Thank
here all
you.
night.
Yes.
And thank you all who are tuning in and listening to us ramble on about creation and imagination and art stuff. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank
Till
you.
next time. Bye.